You may not have heard of Jim Sommons, but soon enough you'll be dying to find out everything you can about the dubbed Quant King who cracked the code of investing in order to become a billionaire. Jim Sommons, full name James Harris Sommons, is regarded as one of history's greatest investors, mathematicians, and hedge fund managers. He's the creator of one of the most wildly and unbelievably successful quant funds in the world, Renaissance Technologies. His resume is massive and impressive, featuring additional titles such as Vietnam War and Cold War era codebreaker, philanthropist, and, while it may not officially mention it, but he's regarded as the smartest billionaire. How was he able to use mathematical models and algorithms to make billions? How did he make it on Forbes' wealthiest people in the world list with a staggering ranking of the 66th richest person? This investment genius was born on April 25, 1938 in Brooklyn, Massachusetts, to parents both of Russian ancestry. His father, Matthew Sommons, born in 1905, was one of 10 children. Jim didn't actually inherit his math skills from his dad, as Papa Sommons worked in the film industry, working as a salesman for 20th Century Fox. He didn't get his talents from his mother Marcia either, whose father owned a shoe factory. In fact, Sommons has divulged that his genius is only shared by a first cousin, who was a physicist and a professor at the University of Virginia until he started working for Simmons Renaissance. The rest of his success solely rests on his shoulders and his approach to math. But back to his childhood and a momentous moment where he started putting things in motion to grow up to be a math genius. Sommons grew up in Boston's suburbs. Somewhere along the way, he started fixating on multiplying by 2 and seeing how far he got. The highest he got back then was 1,024. He thought it was fun. At the age of 14 years old, by the time the Sommons family packed up from their apartment to a small house in Newton, Brooklyn's neighboring town, forcing a young Jim to leave his high school and move to Newton High School. He ended up working at a garden supply store, his responsibilities being a floor sweeper. You wouldn't expect it from a now billionaire math genius, but he was demoted from his former position of a stock boy because of his bad memory of the inventory location. But that didn't matter. He wanted to become a mathematician at the world-renowned Massachusetts Institute of Technology, aka MIT, a dream that his bosses at the garden supply store were in shock over. But lo and behold, in 1955, he was officially accepted into MIT. His major? Mathematics, of course. In a grand total of 3 short years, he managed to graduate. Of course, he didn't stop there. Did he forget that he opened his company at the age of 44? He took applied math courses, non-science courses, and literature, which he confessed to liking. After finishing early, he made the decision to go to graduate school, a decision that would keep him on the track to meeting his future wife and becoming a Cold War codebreaker. So, with his degree fresh from the printers, he went for a doctorate in mathematics from the University of California at Berkeley. His 2 years there were enjoyable. He met his wife, moved in together, and it was where they found out that they were about to have a daughter. Sommons' thesis, which remains legendary to this day, is a bit complex. It was based on the holonomy groups of Riemannian manifolds. He spoke about curved spaces, the same topic that Einstein once used in his theory of relativity to show how gravity affects space and time. In 1961, 23 years old, he successfully received his doctorate. From there on out, he enjoyed a lively career in mathematics, earning a prestigious reputation and taking home several awards. In 1964, the Institute for Defense Analysis approached Sommons. They needed his help in breaking codes for the Vietnam War, which he was able to do. He regards the institute as the place where he learned how to make mathematical models to interpret data. In fact, he says that if he hadn't done that, his business, which now has over $20 billion in assets, would never have occurred. 4 years later, Sommons went back to MIT to teach mathematics, followed by teaching at Harvard. His code-breaking days weren't behind him yet. In a matter of years, he went to work for the Pentagon. Moving on to the 70s, In 1973, IBM asked Simmons to try his hand at analyzing and breaking block cipher Lucifer. And in 1976, the AMS Oswald Veblen Prize in Geometry, the highest award in geometry, was awarded to him for his brilliant work, which he managed to do while still breaking codes. His cryptography dramatically helped the National Security Agency in the Cold War era. Skip forward to 1978. This was the date he started reviewing his life, which involved being Stony Brook University's chair of the mathematics department. Was this all that he was meant to do? To paraphrase him, just keep teaching as a professor until he dies? No, that was not what he wanted. That bleak fate ahead of him, in 1978, he started pursuing a career in finance. He didn't start Renaissance Technologies right away. Instead, his hedge fund was called Monometrics, and in comparison to the 50-acre campus for Renaissance Technologies, which comes with tennis courts, Monometrics was based inside a strip mall by the Stony Brook campus. Believe it or not, but the thought of combining his extensive knowledge and intelligence about mathematics with his hedge fund didn't come to him at first. He had gone towards that alternative route to escape mathematics in the first place. The first period of time, when he started trading, went surprisingly well. Now he blames it on pure luck, still maintaining that he couldn't write programs himself. Why? It's because after a while he had a jaw-dropping realization. He could use mathematical models to interpret data to predict the future. He even described it quite simply, saying that you could just design an algorithm and test it out on a computer. By the time 1988 rolled around, he'd settled on using quantitative analysis to determine which trades to enter. Another secret to his wild success, or as Simmons put it, the company's secret sauce, is the collaborative environment and his unique approach to hiring staff. When building his company, he didn't know how to hire employees to do fundamental trading, but he was familiar with scientists. He opened his business's doors to experts in data analysis, mathematicians, physicists, cryptographers, and basically anyone in a science-related field. He frowned upon employees with Wall Street experience and welcomed those with PhDs. They were going to build computer programs that process torrents of information, ideal trades, stocks, bonds, and currencies. Long before the likes of Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg and Google's Larry Page and Sergey Brin even started thinking about grade schools, Simmons was creating seamless predictive algorithms that predicted the market. His strategy was to seek overlooked and short-term patterns that got repeated in the stock market. In no time, his company started absolutely thriving. Investors were lining to join in on the double-digit annual returns. So he clearly did more than just one thing right. Since he founded the company in 1982, Renaissance Technologies' flagship fund, the Medallion Hedge Fund, has earned more than $100 billion in trading profits. Between the years 1994 and 2014, the fund's trading profits had an annual return averaging 71.8%. Also in 2014, he earned $1.2 billion. By 2017, Forbes magazine estimated that Simmons had a net worth of over $18 billion. By 2019, his fortune jumped to being more than $21.6 billion. Now, Jim Simmons' net worth is estimated to be over $25.2 billion. He's acknowledged as having dramatically influenced both the business and the scientific worlds. In 1994, he and his wife Marilyn, who now has a PhD in economics and runs the business side of the institute and foundation, created the Simmons Foundation, which supports education, scientific research, and health. So far, Simmons has given over $2.7 billion to his cause. Another passion of his is supporting autism research. Another foundation he's founded is called Math for America, which helps science and mathematics teachers advance their abilities. What is Jim Simmons doing now? In 2009, he retired from his position as his company's CEO and instead became chairman of its board. Believe it or not, but he's still breaking records and doing high-level mathematics like crazy, defying the belief that mathematicians do their best work before they reach 40 years old. He's long gotten rid of his boredom of mathematics that originally made him quit it in favor of the hedge fund world. It's his escape, allowing him to be in his own world.